dictate really how we're just there to enforce the law.
Right.
And I remember many times I let people off for I figured, you know what, this is going to ruin their life because I stop a kid that has a little bit of or a little bit of whatever, if I could guide them in the right way and they avoid prison, why not?
Wow.
And a lot of people don't think like that.
No, I would say most police officers do not think like that. Wherever you guys are watching this show, I would truly appreciate it if you follow or subscribe. It helps a lot with the algorithm. It helps us get bigger and better guests, and it helps us grow the team. Truly means a lot. Thank you guys for supporting, and here's the episode. Welcome back to the show, guys. I'm your host, as always, Sean Kelly. Got with me a very special guest today. He's worn a lot of hats in his life. I can't wait till you hear his story. Bruce Cardenas, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. So I'd love for you to give your story because I think you do a better job than I would. You've done a lot of stuff.
I've done a lot of things. It's interesting. So I won't bore you with everything, but I was just a middle-class kid from New Jersey, one of 5 kids, middle child, and I always aspired to be a police officer, but I never knew how I was going to get there, and I was a daydreamer in school, CD student. When I got out of high school, I did pretty well in sports, worked a bunch of different jobs, and I went to the police chief, which was a little hometown USA, and said, hey, I'd really like to join the police department. And he said, listen, you're young, you're immature, in his own kind way,
right?
But if you go in the Marine Corps, I'll hire you and get out. So I grabbed my best friend and said, hey, we're going in the Marine Corps. No other option, no other branch. Went in the Marine Corps, went to Parris Island. I realized there was a big world out there. When you grow up someplace, you think that's it. And I thought New Jersey was the entire world. I don't think I've ever been on a plane before that.
Wow.
So the Marine Corps, I grew up pretty quickly and traveled the world and was on some cool security detail for the Commandant. And I still wanted to pursue that dream of being a police officer. And I ended up being in California at Camp Pendleton for a powerlifting meet. It's funny, we were talking about Mark Bell off camera. I always, followed guys like that and friends with guys like that. So there was a career day in Camp Pendleton, and I saw a bunch of police departments were hiring, and I just started processing and joined LAPD.
Yeah. Wow. So you did Marines before LAPD. Which one was tougher, you'd say? I
think the Marine Corps for sure was tougher. It laid the foundation. I mean, I worked in an exclusive unit, so it was physically and mentally. You go from a kid in Midtown New Jersey to forced training and a lot of good things, mental conditioning. So the Marine Corps was definitely much tougher.
Yeah. And you grew up, in Jersey, but in a very tough environment, right? A lot of alcoholism in your family.
Yeah.
What was it like going through that?
I got to tell you, I guess I avoided that bullet. Grandfather, grandmother, mother, brother almost got kicked out of college for drinking. And
wow.
My older brother died of alcoholism, basically. So I think subconsciously, I just avoided that bullet. I've never really drank. I mean, I've probably been buzzed a few times in my life, but I want to, thank God that I just avoided that. So, I mean, I've seen nothing. It's interesting when people say, oh, you don't drink, that's kind of weird. I said, well, have you ever seen anything positive come out of drinking? My friends are, DUIs, throwing up in the bathroom, sleeping in till, the end of the day because they're trash. So I don't think I've ever avoided anything. And I know it's kind of weird because people think, am I sober? But I've just avoided it.
Yeah. Same with avoided it.
Yeah. And it's crazy because my brother was a big, he went to prison for 3 years for making and selling meth. And
wow.
I've been around it, and it's crazy because even when I wrestled in high school, people took speed to cut weight.
Yeah.
I just somehow just thought, you know what? It's just I thank God that I just never fell onto that sword.
Wow.
Because I have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
So just one I wanted to avoid.
But you got addicted to the right things.
Yeah. Working out, nutrition, working hard, I love working.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they probably call it a workaholic. Now you're called an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I really like your story, man, because it's very rare to see a police officer go into business and become super successful at that, right?
And I got to tell you something, being the police officer, I'd love to touch on it a little bit. When you're in the police academy, I went to LAPD, which was one of the biggest and best police departments in the world. All you learn is rules and regulations, and when you get out in the field, there's the real world. And I quickly learned treating people with respect and dignity was very important, and living within the spirit of the law instead of the letter of the law. And a lot of people, young person goes to a police academy and only knows, I'm here to enforce the law. And I quickly learned that just how you engage people, how you treat them. And I had a couple training officers who were pretty rough. They were rough dudes, old timers. And I watched how they treated other people. And I quickly figured out, they say 90% of Americans are a paycheck away from a crisis. Whether that's true or not, I looked at this.
Shout out to today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Guys, you ever feel like money's just flying out of your account? Well, this app might be able to help you because there's something called subscriptions that are eating at your bank account every single month. And there's apps you don't know about. Delivery apps, streaming services, you name it. You're probably getting charged a monthly fee by a lot of companies and you don't even know. You can see all your subscriptions in one place on the Rocket Money app, and you can cancel all the unwanted subscriptions with one tap. They'll even try to get you a refund for the last couple of months and negotiate your bills to be even lower by up to 20%. All you got to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that basically finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions. They help you monitor your spending, and they help you lower your bills. Rocket Money has been a great experience for me personally. They've saved me money, hundreds of dollars on bills. They were able to go through all of my credit cards, all of my bank statements, see what I was paying for on a monthly basis. And I found a ton of stuff that I don't even use, honestly. I had an Xbox Game Pass that was being charged monthly. I don't even play games. That one was years old. And they also lowered some of my bills. My phone bill and my Wi-Fi bill were pretty high. They were over $150 a month, and they were able to cut down on those prices. So all in all, shout out to Rocket Money, great product. So stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/DSH. That's rocketmoney.com/DSH. Link will be in the description below.
Same way when I stop people that for violating the law. Maybe someone's in a crisis situation, and how you treat them is going to dictate really how we're just there to enforce the law.
Right.
And I remember many times I let people off for just, I figured, you know what, this is going to ruin their life because I stop a kid that has a little bit of or a little bit of whatever, if I could guide them in the right way and they avoid prison, why not?
Wow.
And a lot of people don't think like that.
No, I would say most police officers do not think like that.
Yeah, and there's even a policy. I remember there was a period of time where it came out, if you had a suspended license, you shall impound a car. And I remember I stopped a couple people. I stopped a single mom one time, had her kid in the car. License was suspended, and my partner goes, hey, I'm going to call a tow truck. I said, well, hold on. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
Single mom, working hard on her way to work. If you impound the car, it's going to cost her $1,000. She'll probably never get the car out of impound because they hold it for 30 days. So I basically went against the grain, and but I think about the future of this person. What you're going to do to destroy someone's life. So
yeah, because the universe, that energy might come back to you, right?
100%. I just realized, I'm a servant leader, and I realize I'm there to serve people, and if I could help them avoid a bullet, why not?
Yeah. And you were in some of the roughest neighborhoods in LA, right?
Oh yeah, I worked, Compton, Southwest, worked during the riots, the OJ trial, Rodney King,
You saw some crazy stuff.
Crazy things. I mean, my second day on the job, I was standing at a crime scene. It was a related three bodies,
Wow.
And 2 shot, and I'm standing at a crime scene, kid from New Jersey. I'm like, wow, this is a real city.
That's nuts, man.
Yeah.
So do you get like flashbacks from being in the military and being a police officer?
I wouldn't say, but not PTSD, but some flashbacks of some things I've seen. You can't unsee things, right?
Right.
Tragic accidents or that you don't want to wish it upon anyone, but sometimes you have those process in your brain like, wow.
So you really built up your mental fortitude to be able to...
You really have to have good mental fortitude, and you also have to remain positive. A lot of cops become very cynical and jaded because they see it, and I've been on crime scenes where people kind of making jokes. I'm like, geez, this is a victim. This is someone's brother, father, uncle.
Right.
And I always keep it in perspective, and you really have to keep a strong mental outlook on things.
What was that transition from being a cop into... Quest was like the first thing for you, right?
Well, it was the cop, and I started the bodyguard business while I was a cop. Right. But the Quest thing just kind of happened. I was at the gym one day and met the founder of Quest, Shannon Penna. She goes by Quest Creator. She was doing cardio, gym friends, you make small talk. And she gave me a couple protein bars, I think the second time I saw her. And they just started the company, a few months old, 2 flavors. And we became fast friends. And literally, I think I saw her the next week and said, hey, I'm doing this celebrity golf tournament. I'm doing security at Riviera Country Club, and there was the likes of Jessica Simpson were there and Mario Lopez. And I said, if you want to get me some product, I'll get it in some people's hands.
Yeah.
And got me some product. And quickly, I didn't even know what the word content meant. But my friend was doing publicity there. It was actually Facebook just started, so there was no Twitter or Instagram. She got some people to do some taste testing on video and got some blogs, and I got that all together and sent it to the founder. And they were like, holy cow, like, how do you know these people? Yeah. By the way, I'm protecting these people, so it was kind of an easy, bringing them value why I'm protecting them and bringing them snacks. And 9 months later, they took me to lunch and said, hey, we're stealing from you. You're bringing us way more value than we're doing for you. I said, no, we're good. Like, you're giving me product, and I'm getting it in people's hands. So they said, we're putting you on the payroll starting Friday, which was a nominal fee, but it was still, they were paying me. And then that was in my mind, a mental switch that once I started getting paid, I was like, wow, now I really need to step up my game.
Yeah.
And that started our relationship.
Amazing. And you worked your way all the way up to C-suite from there.
Yeah, it was literally one of those companies where everyone had one of the founders was in charge of R&D, one was in charge of finance and production, and one was in charge of sales. And everything was like virgin territory. I created the events department, the ambassador program, built all these relationships with GNC and Vitamin Shop. And so I call myself, I became an entrepreneur inside the company because I had the latitude and freedom to do whatever I wanted. So I created all these departments, all these opportunities. We created the Wow Factory, which we coined after Tony Hsieh from Delivering Happiness. And we carved our way. So yeah, next thing you know, 9 years later, I'm the chief communications officer, and we sold for $1 billion cash to Atkins.
It's insane to go from police officer to C-suite of a 9-figure company.
And I tell people this, all I did was I brought value, and I really had no expectation. When I first met them, they gave me some bars. I remember when I visited their office, which was down near Compton, there was no sign of a future with them. They were in a little industrial park, crummy little area. No, it was literally, I walked in and literally thought to myself, they probably won't be in business in 6 months. You get that vibe when you walk into. So there wasn't like I was like, oh, I have this golden opportunity. I just kept helping them. Anything they needed. I remember one time they were talking about we moved buildings to a nicer place, and they said, we're thinking about building a studio. We had something not as nice as this, but a little studio for guests. Over the holiday weekend, I came in and all I heard them say is we should build a studio. Over the holidays, I came in and built the studio. Put it on my credit card, did everything. When they came back, I was out of town because I used to travel about 40 weekends a year for them.
Yeah.
They said, Bruce must have been here over the holidays.
Yeah.
They didn't even ask who did it. So I always tell people this, like I had an opportunity. I wasn't the most qualified to be in a nutrition company. I mean, I had knowledge. I just worked hard at anything that the company needed, I just did. And I think a lot of times people stay in their lane. Well, I just do marketing.
Yeah.
Or I just do sales, but I did whatever it took.
People get complacent once they get a job, I feel like, but you felt like you needed to keep doing more.
Yeah, and people, I always wish this on people. I hope people find their why in life. That became my why.
Right.
Because people started writing us blogs, hey, I lost 25 pounds over the last few months eating this. It was a go-to snack. And you started seeing the results of your efforts, and that people were like, these are clean and they're delicious bars. And it really became an exciting why.
Yeah.
It almost became, the bodyguard work was great. I was still doing that, but it was almost more like we're changing people's lives. And it really became exciting.
You guys were so ahead of your time because back then it wasn't really a health trend.
No.
It was like, and they tasted so good, man.
Yeah, and bars prior to that, if you had anything prior, so ours was taste, texture, ingredients, and that's what very few people even looked at the package. They just like, taste great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was healthy when I first ate
Yeah,
them.
yeah, they were like candy bars.
Yeah, those, I think the cookies and cream one, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was our number 2 or 3 bar sales. Yeah.
Oh, man. So I want to dive into the security stuff because you were doing security for A-list celebrities. Like you could get into some of the people, but I want to learn about how you even grew that business because people try to do security, right?
A lot of people try. A lot of people do it. I happened to start working off duty for a retired sergeant from Beverly Hills. Like most cops, I needed extra money. I wasn't making a lot of money, whatever the salary was. Did a couple gigs, and after about a year of working for him for other clients, I said, I could do this. I got my own, went and took a test, got my insurance, got my license. One of my dear friends, his name's Charlie Horkey. He was a founder of CLS Transportation. It's actually Slade here in LA now, in Vegas now. We became fast friends, and I said, hey, I'm starting the security business. He said, oh, I go back to this. It's relationship capital that I continue to build like you do. It's just relationship capital.
Right.
I knew him, did him a couple favors. I said, I want to start this business. And he started referring clients to me. And literally, it kind of became like a waterfall. Like at the time, Tommy Mottola was running Sony Music. He was married to Mariah Carey. Got me connected with them. And then it was Courtney Love, and then it was Whoopi Goldberg. And then once I started building my own, list of clients, then other people started coming in. I handled almost every Sony music artist in one way or shape or form, whether it was just a weekend gig, whether I helped them just fix things up, whether it was when Mike Tyson split up from Don King, and I temporarily did his security for about a year.
Tyson needed security?
So Tyson had his own guy, his own pit bull, but I was a peripheral guy.
Okay.
Yeah, right, Mike, yeah. Still a powerful guy, but just making sure there was no problems when he ingress and egress and making sure he stayed out of trouble, right?
Right.
I think a lot of celebrities and talent, it's more about keeping them out of trouble.
Yeah.
And keeping
them safe.
on the Nate and Sarah, safe and getting in and out of places without having a problem. So that was what I was really good at. I'm still good at, yeah.
What were some key moments in that business that you think you still remember to this day?
Well, I got to tell you something. I always tell people in the security business, it's social cues. Like I learned how to adjust myself and be in the corner when out speaking. And it's interesting because I'm a extrovert, but in the security business, you got to be an introvert. You're not really engaging with people. You're just staying out of the way.
Wow.
But I think one of the things I learned going back to being I not only met clients' expectations, but I exceeded them. So it wasn't just like I got them from point A to point B. I started figuring out what they needed in advance. And I remember one time one of the biggest music persons in the world said to me, hey, you should think about starting your own management company. So why would you say that? She goes, you're doing more for me than my manager does. Because I was always thinking ahead of what they needed.
Yeah.
Advancing the hotel room, where the car is, just everything. And I think that was one of my big learnings. And then I also learned human psychology. A lot of celebrities have stalkers, which I handled many. To this day, I handle many.
Really?
And I think even now with social media, I think even the weekend we were at the conference, right? This past weekend, a couple of speakers I talked to said they have Savory fans that are become a little obsessed.
Right.
Because I think people live vicariously. They see people on television, YouTube.
Are you interested in coming on the Digital Social Hour podcast as a guest? Well, click the application link below in the description of this video. We are always looking for cool stories, cool entrepreneurs to talk to about business and life. Click the application link below, and here's the episode, guys.
And that's another problem I deal with. People just showing up unwanted.
Yeah.
So I learned how to really be a negotiator of human psychology too. How to de-escalate things. I remember one time I took a bus from Alabama and showed up at Kim Kardashian's house with his luggage, and he thought he was there to move in with her. I literally had to intervene and get a hold of his parents and get some psychological help.
Oh my God.
So that becomes way more than security, right? Now you're kind of becoming a therapist and helping. I've had 3 clients I've taken to rehab that their circle became so comfortable with the service I was providing. They said, hey, we want to do intervention. And I was responsible for those, which is another thing. I never knew anything about intervention, but I learned quickly.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things that I learned, and I always pass on to people in the security business, do more and exceed their expectations without interfering. By the way, you also have to be the wallflower.
Yeah.
You know.
So were you walking around armed or?
No? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did anything ever get dangerous or?
Probably more as a cop. Dangerous. I mean, I've had a couple unsavory fans that have tried to scale walls, show up at their estates.
Right.
But we'll usually call the police or detain them.
Yeah.
Never to the point where there's been bodily harm.
That's good.
But there's some people out there that have done some crazy
Yeah, in the music industry, it gets dangerous out there.
Yeah, and a lot of musicians. I remember one time, actually, it was during the grunge area up in Seattle, a woman rammed her truck into Eddie Vedder's gate. Remember Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam? And so that was dangerous.
Jeez.
Yeah. There's people that go to extremes that do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, man. It's scary out there. And you also were VP of a chauffeur business, right?
Yeah, simultaneously, my friend that owned the Slade service, I became the executive vice president of his company. So my security business was inside his business. So it kind of worked out hand in hand. Like his dispatchers are booking cars, and they're like, "Oh, Bruce, by the way, we need a bodyguard this weekend."
Right. So what did you learn in that space? Because that's a very niche space.
Very niche and very customer service oriented. So imagine if you could afford to have a chauffeur, your level of expectations are really high.
Yeah.
So it's everything from getting point A to point B, but how you do it, seamlessly. And I started, doing the motor escorts for them. And people have that expectation. Even the last 2 Super Bowls, I arranged motor escorts. I think that became almost like sometimes people become almost impossible to please.
Yeah.
You're flying on Gulfstreams. Your chauffeur's 5 minutes late and it's the end of the world. Now sometimes that's funny because when Quest started, I took a step back and thought, I'm dealing with these very wealthy people, right? That you can never meet their expectations because they always want more.
Yeah.
Instant gratification, right? And then I have this other world where it's like people are enjoying protein bars and having a good time. So, but that level, but it's a service, or like I said, I'm a servant leader, and you always have to exceed people's expectations, and we've done pretty good. We had the 4 seasons, like 6 of the 4 seasons, which are prime hotels. Wow. NetJets, which is a private jet company that Warren Buffett, I don't know if he still owns it, but he owned it. We used to service them, and we did their annual conference every year at the Wynn here.
That's huge.
With all the owners.
So you're really good at forming partnerships with established brands and IP.
Partnerships and getting in and then maintaining those relationships. I think sometimes people get relationships where they start a relationship and they don't know how to maintain it for years in and months out.
Right.
They kind of get comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And I always tell people you're only as good as your last gig.
So do you try to create win-win scenarios for both parties?
For sure, 100%.
Yeah, I think that's what most people don't think about.
They don't think about it. They're like, hey, I got the account. Great. Now I can sit back. No, now you need to keep moving forward.
Keep over-delivering.
Over-delivering. There's always going to be a new executive assistant. There's always going to be a new chief communication officer in the company.
Right.
And it's not even about the main client. I found quickly, it's not, because I very rarely deal with the actual main person, like the Warren Buffetts of the world, but you're dealing with all the lieutenants, as I say. And they're always cycling through, so you always have to be on top of your game, impressing and doing great service for the next person.
Right. What have you noticed, like these billionaires and centimillionaires, what do they all have in common?
Besides being eccentric, I think they're driven and they're focused. I've very limited contact because I almost feel like sometimes they're savants about they're thinking about the next day, the next deal. While they may ask me, "Hey Bruce, how long is it going to take to get to our next place?" I'll tell them 30 minutes. They're already processing. Okay, they're processing the next thing. They're not thinking about. They don't think in the past. They're just thinking about what I'm dealing with, what I'm working with. So it's an amazing talent I've seen, how people could put deals together and focus on so many things. But I think that's also why they have such great teams too, right, to help them.
Nice. You're working on a new venture now with the previous Quest founder, right?
Yeah. So he started a couple companies, Legendary Foods.
That's him?
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that everywhere.
Yeah. The pastries.
Yeah.
So he's Ron Penna. He's rolled that into that, and he started a ketogenic dog food company, and then a science company called BioShift. More cancer research behind the scenes. There's nothing to report, right? Because I said to him we should start talking about that in public, and he said, until I actually have an answer, what's there to talk about? So
yeah, cancer is one of those things, right?
Yeah.
You need to be definitive.
Well, people will spend millions in cancer research, right?
Yeah.
But until you actually have an answer, it's all white paper. It's all
Just
noise.
dumping money. Yeah.
Yeah.
You think there'll be a cure one day?
I hope in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
I think there's so many companies running to the finish line to try and find the answer.
Yeah. Now the CPG space, which you have a lot of experience in, obviously, it's easy to spend millions.
Yeah.
And you don't know if it's going to pan out. What's your advice to people entering that space?
I got to tell you, I tell people this all the time, and no different if we started another Quest or another cookie company. We started making the bars by hand at Quest in a commissary at night.
Really?
Yeah, we flushed it out. We built a website. We actually built a website and tested it, making fake orders and then refunding people just to see the traction and the engagement. What happens is people say, I'm going to start a water company. Let me go order a 50,000 unit run or whatever, put my name on it, and then realize, well, no one's buying it. You're better to start out small. Let's just use a cookie company. They'll make them by hand, start selling them at swap meets or go to the gym with them. People, CPG specifically, if people try it and they like it, they're going to buy it. Now imagine you spend all this money making a bar, a cookie, a drink. They try it and they don't like it. It's all about the reorder and the commitment, a lifetime customer. So at Quest, we had lifetime customers.
Right.
People spend too much money. First, you need to flush out the idea, get some samples made, and see if your friends and family like it. Because your friends and family are going to be honest for the most part, right? Your kids, for sure. Right? Kids are, when it comes to a consumable item, kids are honest.
Yeah.
Under 11 years old, they'll spit it out, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we found at Quest. Kids were very honest. Like, kids liked it, actually.
Oh, so you were giving it to kids?
Oh, yeah, that was, and we'd have moms write us, say, oh my God, my 6-year-old loves your Quest bar.
Oh, nice. That's a good sign.
Sometimes you got to trick them, right? You can't say it's a protein bar. Hey, check
Right.
this out. But so when I tell people that start a CPG brand, just first test it out. I know friends of mine that have spent millions, literally, and they're like, hey, I'm going out of business. And they tell me the story. I said, well, God, I wish I knew you. Like, let's just flush it out first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's one of those spaces where building that LTV is important, right? Because people are probably spending thousands on Quest bars over time.
Oh, I'd say we did a calculation. If you became a lifetime customer, it's about a $3,500 investment.
A year?
No, like
total.
Because listen, people come and go, right? Maybe you're doing Quest bars for 5 years. Maybe you move on to something else.
That's still super high, especially for a $2 protein bar.
Right. So think about that. You have millions of those people.
Yeah. So you have one of the best networks I've ever seen. What would you say people looking to grow their network? What advice would you give them?
I will say this. I'll tell you the same thing that you do and Dan Fleischman does. Be out there. Dan Fleischman's become a good friend of mine, and he, as you know, he hosts these elevator nights for free.
Yeah.
Everywhere, and he says this, here's my blueprint. Go out and meet people. Look online, look at Facebook, Instagram. There's always some meetup somewhere, right? You do meetups, right?
Yeah.
You have events. I tell people it's great. You could be a keyboard warrior. You're not meeting people that way.
No.
And it's all fake. It's in Instagram, it's messaging. Go be in person. We saw, finally connected at the event this weekend.
Yeah.
And the weekend before that was Lionsgate, or Lions Not Sheep. This weekend coming up, I'm at the Andy and Elliott group. Just keep meeting people. The more people you meet, the bigger your network comes. And I got to tell you right now, your network is your success.
Absolutely.
And those relationships, like I say, I've always made more deposits and withdrawals. But when I need something, I then can say, wow, I feel good about asking because I've made 9 deposits in your bank. per se.
Absolutely.
And I think relationships are sometimes better than cash. The relationship value.
I agree with that, man.
I mean, think about the calls you can make after you get to know someone. Hey, I'm doing this real estate deal. Let me help you with that.
Yeah.
Let me save you $20,000, whatever, right? Because you're a friend. People need to get out there. I have friends who are like, well, it seems like that event is a waste of time. Go find, you might meet one Dan, one Sean, one Andy Frisella, whoever.
All it takes is one person for it to be worth it.
One person, all of a sudden they're $1 million client.
I mean, just at the event we just went to Saturday, I met someone that owns a videography company. He's now giving me free videographers, whatever city I'm in. I met 10 podcast guests that will lead to further connections. Yeah. The connections I made at that event alone will lead to millions of dollars.
Same thing with me. I met a couple people that I knew of, and I made a connection. And now, and even I've met Tim Grover now a few times, and he had a pretty candid talk with me. He goes, "Hey, when are you getting on the big stage?
Yeah,
you told me a few months ago you're going to be on the big stage, and now he's Tim's no joke.
Yeah,
so I love meeting those kind of people because they inspire you to do more. And sometimes, it's interesting. Maybe I don't know if you feel like this. Sometimes I feel like, am I doing enough?
Yeah.
And then you run into someone like that and say, shit, I need to step up my game.
For sure.
Right?
That's the good thing about conferences because it'll always humble you.
Yeah, because there's people that I was on Bradley's podcast a couple weeks ago, and I'm around these people, and I'm like, man, they are doing a lot. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a balance, though, because you don't want to compare yourselves too much.
No, I don't compare myself, but sometimes I'm just like, you know what? If I think for a moment I'm working too hard, I see other people are working hard.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying working hard is just the answer, but, just they're out there.
Yeah. What's that balance like for you? Are you working weekends?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It seems like the last few weekends I've been going to these conferences and stuff, but there's no rhyme or reason. And I still have a client that I take care of. He's a billionaire. He comes in town. He's actually coming in town for a week coming up. So that'll be my week that I'm locked down.
Right.
Yeah.
Security?
Yeah, security.
Oh, so you're still doing it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But a handful of clients. It's interesting. Years ago, it was a big deal to be a billionaire, right? There was only a handful now.
Yeah.
But so I only have a couple clients and they're both billionaires.
Yeah, I feel like it's more common. It's still very hard, obviously. But
for sure.
Yeah. You could become a billionaire on equity. I feel like it's attainable these days.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, if you're making the right moves. Have you done anything with Grant Cardone?
I've only met him a couple times, but no, I never worked with him, never done anything.
Nice. So what keeps you going, man? I mean, you got great energy at your age.
The energy. I work out every morning at 7 a.m. I have a training partner, and I'm working. The podcast is just the first layer of starting public speaking. I finally set up a website for coaching, and I do want to be on the big stage. I mean, there's no reason I can't be. I think for self-doubt's been it for years. It's been me just being weak.
What's been the biggest audience you've spoken?
Me and you right here.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. No, I've been maybe 50, 100 people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get you up to the thousands.
Yeah, like this weekend, I was envisioning me being up there, and thought, okay, you just
manifest it.
Yeah, whether it's 70 people or 7,000.
Yeah, that crowd was the biggest I've seen.
Right,
at a business conference.
Yeah,
other than 10x.
And you know what? But really want to take away from talking. I already knew about some of the speakers, but even some of the ones I talked about, Jen Gottlieb?
Yeah,
she showed the video when she first was trying to do Facebook Lives and fumbling around.
Right.
Every one of those people started somewhere.
Yeah.
Fumbling and nervous, anxious, and stomach and nervousness. So everyone starts that way, and that's what I have to keep reminding myself.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that.
No one just got on stage and said, "Hey, I'm Tony Robbins."
Yeah, no, it takes time, man. My first time was quite the story.
Yeah, and even when you actually had an event, you couldn't make it. You were stuck in somewhere, but I attended one of your events at the library.
Yeah.
And I spoke in front. It was probably like 50 people. One of your guys let me talk, but I realized the more you do it, it's like repetition. And you just have to just keep talking.
Absolutely.
And as long as you're bringing a valuable message, people want to listen.
Yeah. Dude, it's been super fun. Anything you want to close off with?
No, I appreciate everything, the opportunity you've given me, and I want to pass it on. Like, to me, if I could change one person's life every day, that's my goal.
Perfect. Where can people find you?
I have a website, brucecardenas.com. And then obviously on Instagram, Bruce E. Cardenas is for Instagram.
Love it. Thanks so much for coming on, Bruce.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys, as always, and I'll see you next time.